Okay, so we're gonna be starting soon. I see quite a few people here, familiar names. We've got Crystal, Donnie, and Gary, all from the Sarawak Convention Bureau. Are you guys starting a community garden? Is that why you're joining our talk today, Donnie? Usually he's very busy. So we've got Larry Ong, my very good friend. Got a few other names here. David and Jim Ping. Is that a joint account? They're watching it together. That's great. And I think we have a few people on YouTube as well. Uh, Make the office greener. Yeah, Gary, you need to grow more plants in your office. Okay, so it's 10 o'clock. Let me just stop share for a while. And okay. All right. So, hi everyone. Welcome to the Tuesday Talk Live by Place Borneo. And I'm sure some of you have stayed with us. This is the 17th episode, 17th. We've gone a long way. And for those of you who are new, my name is Mona Abdul Manap and I'll be your host for today. I'm from Place Borneo. Now, today's episode is very special. It is brought to you by Gardenscapes Sarawak. As you can see, it is a gardening and farming expo, and it is the first of its kind in Sarawak, and I think it's in Borneo as well. I haven't seen one in Sabah or in Kalimantan, so I dare say it must be the first one in Borneo, on the island of Borneo. And it is the biggest collection of gardening and farming people, exhibitors. They're going to be selling their gardening tools, their fertilizers, plants, anything. And we've got interest from the Bonsai Association. They're going to be showcasing their bonsai. They might be selling, but bonsais are really expensive, so only those who are really, really interested in bonsais. And we've got hydroponic and aquaponic as well. So I think that's a different kind of gardening, and that's very interesting. So that's going to be on the 26th or 28th February in City One Mega Mall. That's in Kuching, Sarawak. James, you won't be able to make it because that's a very long way from the USA, and we've got the borders all closed. And they're going to be following very strict SOP. So we want to get the economy going. We want people to attend events and go out, but we also want people to be safe and healthy. So guys, if you're going to be out attending events, make sure you're wearing your masks all the time. Practice personal hygiene. Wash your hands or sanitize your hands, and keep your social distancing or physical distancing. It's not socially distant. We're just physically distant. Okay, now back to the show. All right, so today, for those of you who are new, the Tuesday Talk Live is a platform for us to share ideas, information, knowledge, or your experience in solving problems, challenges that we're facing right now. And during these difficult times, this is when we need support from each other for the problems that we're facing. And I'm sure we've got a lot of challenges and issues in terms whether it be personal or business. And this is a platform that we created in the hopes that you can ask a question. You can also give some of your insights to help each other. And we started off with business events. I mean, we talked about conferences and events. That's our forte. And then we went on to tourism, and now we're covering mostly business, as in management and leadership, as well as lifestyle topics. And that brings us to today's topic of gardening for the soul. Now, gardening is it's an all-rounded activity, I think, because it helps you as an individual, but also helps the community and the world at large. And that's why we want to talk about it today. Before I go on to introduce the speakers, we've got some fantastic ones today, but I'm just going to talk a bit about gardening as an activity. It's a great recreational activity and it's loaded with benefits. One is for yourself. So you've got great mental benefits when you do gardening because you really focus on what you're doing. So it teaches you patience. It teaches you to accept failures when your tomatoes don't come out as you want them, or they die. So I think that's a great practice as well mentally. And it's a great physical activity. You're squatting and standing and you're moving about. So you're doing squats the whole day. So that's great for the core. And when you get sick and people say you need to go out and put your your skin or your hands and your feet into the soil to get the energy from Mother Earth. So
That's
you
right.
know, and yeah, so in Chinese they call it the qi. So you're getting energy from the earth into your body. So you're renewing your energy. So that's some alternative medicine kind of thing. So if you're not into that, don't worry. So gardening is great because you're getting your hands all dirty with Mother Earth, and you're getting all the energy from there. And for the environment, so you're planting trees, plants, veggies, you're producing oxygen for everyone. So that's great. You're making the environment more beautiful with greens, with flowers, with colors. You're feeding the birds and the bees and the flowers and the trees. So that's fantastic. That's great for the environment and for the community. So today we're also going to be talking about community gardening, and James, our speaker, will be talking more about that. He's an expert on that. And for the community, it's fantastic because it's a great place for you to get to know each other. Nowadays, we all live in silo. You don't even know who your neighbors are. You don't know their names. So gardening could be a less risky activity for you to get to know them, and where you can just do things, or if you don't want to talk to anyone, you could do it alone. So it's an all-rounder activity that everyone can indulge in. If you prefer to do it alone, that's fantastic. If you want to do it with friends, with the community, that's also fantastic. So today our speakers are, we've got Mr. James Ross, the president of Community Garden Planters, and the director of Community Gardens of the Garden Club of Kentucky, all the way from the US of A. And he was born and raised in Kentucky and is a veteran US Army and has been a community gardener for 15 years. It's a long time. And he is right now doing landscaping and contract service for two national parks in the USA, and also a community radio host on 99.5 FM, where he teaches people how to grow food. And he's been doing that for 10 years. So you'll see later on, he's got great voice, the radio show kind of voice. And we're going to be talking to him more about community gardening and growing your own food. So welcome to the show, James. Thanks for inviting. Thanks for accepting. And the next speaker, we've got Jean Boon, our very own Jean Boon from Kuching. She is the founder of Kuching Seed Swap. So this is a community group. It's an exchange group where you get free seeds, plants, and produce from your gardens. It also brings people together, not just to exchange stuff, as in plants and seeds, but also to exchange ideas and knowledge about gardening. So if you're new, you can join the community. They're on Facebook. You can ask questions, and you can just get free plants, so you don't have to spend so much money. And these gardeners, they're really, they're really good people because they just give out free stuff sometimes, so they have a lot of free excess plants or excess seeds. They'll just give it away for free. And now this is interesting. She's also a full-time certified coach of Wild Fit. Wild Fit is a food psychology and nutrition program, and she works with clients for massive health transformation. Now, if you'd like to know more, you can talk to her. I'm thinking of going to WildFit, but it's a bit scary at the moment. So I've seen friends doing it, and they're really benefiting from it. So welcome to the show, Jean. And so today we're going to be talking to James and Jean on gardening and community gardening and growing your own food. So as usual, we're going to start with a few minutes of the speakers talking about themselves or what they want to talk about today, and then we'll go on to the questions or discussions. And for those of you on Zoom, you can type your questions on the Q&A. I think it's at the bottom of your page. And if you are on YouTube, you can just type your questions on the chat box and we'll be able to pick it up from there. And as we go along, we're going to pick up questions and we're going to discuss them. So keep them coming. So we're going to start off with James first. James, go ahead.
There. Thank you for the invite from Malaysia.
Yeah.
It was kind of unexpected, but I get a pleasure in talking about gardening, and because I've been doing it for so long that when it comes to community gardens, I found that those gardens are probably one of the better gardens because you're drawing in people that you would have never met before.
Mm.
You have lawyers and doctors and firefighters and just ordinary day, everyday people who have the same interests as you, but you don't hear them talk about it because nobody else was talking about it. And I didn't start off as a gardener. I grew up in the city. My parents, they had a small garden and things like that. But it didn't mean anything to me. I just knew that we was getting fed, and that's all that mattered to me. So, but about 20 years later, when I ended up in San Francisco, there was this couple uh, who was out in front of their house on an island that has 20 palm trees, and they was cleaning it up. And I didn't understand why, because nobody else cleaned it up in San Francisco. But they told me they wanted to make a change in their community. Still didn't understand why. But I probably passed them for probably maybe 2 or 3 months, and I'd ask them what they're doing, and they tell me. And I go back home and I think about it. I said, well, maybe I can do something like that. So next time I passed them, I told them, hey, I like to get involved with what you're doing. How can I help? And they said, well, if you take a patch, there in front of your house in the island, get it cleaned up, maybe we can get the rest of the people to do the same thing. Okay. So I went across the street and I cleaned that patch out that needed to be cleaned out. It had old tires and junk and needles from junkies passing by, throwing needles and things in. So I guess about 6 months later, now we have maybe 15 people on the block who are now getting involved. And now we need trucks and things to get the junk out and try to clean the land. And um, it took us 5 years of really hard work with college students and football teams, and doing the heavy lifting, going to meetings and all kinds of different things in order to get this organization. The organization is called Quesada Gardens, so you can look that up online, and they'll show you some of the things that we've done. And we started getting awards, and then people want to know how could they get one started in their neighborhood. And we would go to their neighborhood, meet with them. They would show us what they're trying to do, and how to get started. And we're helping them build theirs. And now they're telling more people. So now we have other community gardens that are getting started because all this good help and good people coming along to help you grow food that normally you wouldn't see in the city, because the city, the only time you would find growing food is if you went to somebody's farm. You normally wouldn't see it in somebody's backyard or on an island. So that's how we kind of got started, and that's how I kind of got started. And they told me that I was going to become one of the speakers, and I wasn't one who really spoke, to people. But they kept encouraging me that, hey, you can do this, you can do this. And I said, okay, let's try it, and but then my heart took over and said, hey, I know we can do this, and here's how we did it. Here's the people that have brought me along to help me out in a situation that I wasn't expecting, in San Francisco. So I became a community organizer, going to more meetings, meeting with city officials, and doing different things and writing grants, something I'd never done before. I've heard of people writing grants, but I never got one. And I finally got my first grant like maybe 2 years into it, and I was really excited that people are giving money away for this stuff. So once we started getting grants, like I said, we started buying supplies. We started making sure that if you wanted a garden in your backyard, that we would supply um, the 2x4s, the seeds, the plants, or whatever it is that you want. We would supply that and use the money out of the grant. And so, like I say, 15 years later, move forward. I come back to Kentucky. Um, Nobody has a clue what I'm talking about, but I have been, but I did start talking to people, and they got interested. And then, somebody said, "Hey, I'd like to do it." And then 4 or 5 people said, "Hey, well, let's have a meeting." So we went to our local library, started having meetings on where we could have it because we didn't have land and we didn't know how we could get land. So somebody volunteered land, and we, um, I guess it was a maybe a 20 by 20. And so we dug it up, put plants in it. We cared for it. We babied it, sweat during the summer. It was a lot of work. But and then we started bringing in schools, elementary schools and high school students. And we have a local college here called Center College. So somehow or another, they reached out to us and said, "Hey, we're available for a work day. What do you guys have?" So they just brought the football team over, and like they did all the heavy lifting and all that good stuff, and it's been a joy, and then before you know it, I got a radio show called Gardening with James, and so a lot of things really started picking up in the first 5 years here, and it's just been a pleasure to be able to talk to like-minded people who won't do nothing but grow their own food and try to make sure that um, keep as many chemicals out of it as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you want chemicals, you can go to the grocery store for that.
Yeah.
But if you can grow it in your own backyard and it's fresh and you can pick it 5 minutes ago, go in the house, cut up that salad and eat it, it's a whole lot healthier for you than it would be if you went to the store to buy one. So that's kind of what I talk about, and those are the people that I seem to attract. Are people who want to do the same thing, and like I said, it's all about trying to stay healthy, trying to do the right things, and uh, try to get a garden in every corner of the world.
Okay, wow, that's a really inspiring story that you have there, and I hope we could have similar gardens here, community gardens that we can start in Kuching, and I know that the council, the Kuching City Council, they're also thinking of something of that sort because we communicated with them before the show, and they say they're interested to create something like that. It's still in progress, and they're doing a great job with a lot of the residential area. They take care of the gardens, the parks, but I think a community garden where people can actually do gardening and not just go there and just enjoy what's already been planted. I think that's a whole new different activity that
Yeah.
we could all do. So that's great. Okay, next one, Jean, go ahead.
Hi everyone, good morning. Thank you for joining us here. So my name is Jean, as Mona has explained, and I started Kuching Seed Swap about 3, 4 years ago. I can't even remember. So the reason why I started with gardening was that I just came back from New Zealand to Kuching, and then my health wasn't great at that stage. I was trying to eat better. And one of the things I wanted to try was to get some organic veggies. Back then, there's not as much choices as we do now. And I thought, wow, maybe I can just grow my own stuff. So I just went into it. I bought a lot of supplies, bought soil, bought fertilizer, equipment, seeds, stuff like that, and even hired a gardener to get it started for me.
Wow.
But everything just kind of died. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm the worst gardener in the world. I'm just like the worst black thumb. We had tried to grow some corn, and they turned out about like the thumb size, and they were all weird shapes. And I was like, okay, this is not working. But I thought, no, just keep trying. Maybe not corn. Let's try something else. Started talking to friends about it, and people were like, oh, why don't you try growing this? This is much easier, like jangkok manis, for example. You just like poke it in the ground. That's what my auntie said. She said, this is how you do it. And then started talking to other people, and they said, hey, I'll give you a cutting of this or a seed of that, and this is how you grow it. This is how it likes sun, or etc etc, giving me so much more information than, like, say, the shop that sold me the seeds or the shop that sold me the plant. And so I thought, hey, I can actually get stuff for free. People literally wanting to get the stuff out of their garden, and I'm actually doing them a favor. So maybe there's something I can start looking online, and I saw that people were doing these like seed swap communities. It's like, oh, I don't wonder if we have anything here in Kuching like that. There was none. So I was like, maybe give it a go. Yeah, and with the support of a few key members, Jim Ping is here. She's on the call as well. She's one of
Oh,
the
okay.
very, very strong supporters from the start, and she's not even on Facebook actually. And there's Sigrid and Manfred, who they were the first people that we visited the garden in. They said, hey, they're experienced gardeners, so they said, come into our garden, and they had this like little terrace house, a corner terrace, tiny. When they first started, it was clay soil, like white clay soil, all sticky, and they were very much into permaculture and organic gardening. And within 2 3 years, they managed to turn this like barren dead land into the super, it's like a garden of Eden over there. The
Wow.
soil is like black, it's alive. They didn't even buy soil. In Kuching, we like, okay, buy topsoil, just put it on. They actually took the time to really nourish the soil with compost, with growing things that fix nitrogen into the ground. And you go there and you're like just shocked. I think they have about 300 different species just in
Wow.
that tiny plot of land. And from there, we just grew. And the next, seed swap meeting we had was at the goat farm where they taught us how to make liquid fertilizer. So we visit different places, and we've visited a community garden as well. So yeah, so when we first started, it was a small group of us getting word of mouth around, and we would meet up once every 2 months. I think we've had about 11 meetups since then, and every meetup will have a different topic. And our Christmas parties, they were the best. We have our seed swap Christmas parties where everyone would cook a dish of something that they made with what they produced in the garden. And then we had like little cooking demo as well one year. Oh, so good. So yeah, the Christmas parties were the best. And yeah, so this amazing little community just started gaining momentum. People talked about it to their friends. People found us on Facebook, and like James said, it's an amazing way to get connected to people. Because we really are not for profit. There's no cash exchange involved. It creates a different dynamic, and you would be so shocked by how generous people are. And it's incredible when you get together without this ulterior motives, any other ulterior motives. You're not trying to network to get business, or you're not trying to sell your stuff. There's a lot of members that I've met from day one. I still don't know what they do for a living, and you just know, oh, that's the banana guy, or that's the lady who gave me this herb, and you just know them by that. And somehow it's also quite freeing to be away from your other identity. Like, okay, Mona, she's the director, or she's the CEO of Place Borneo. Like, no one would look at you that way. They would just like, oh, Mona, she's the one who likes ferns, or she's the one who likes cactus or succulents. So yeah, it was really amazing. Yeah, so that's about the community. And I think the rest of the contents, I suppose, about gardening would be covered in your questions. So I'll hand that back to you, Mona.
Thanks, Jean. Wow, I didn't know your community is so active with all these Christmas parties and all that and seed swaps. That's fantastic. And I know of some associations as well. They're starting their own community gardening, but within the association, and they invite members to also join as an activity. In fact, our Rotary Club of Kuching, I'm the president right now, and we're thinking of creating a community garden because we want to have something that the community can be involved in. And it's a more long term project, so it's not a one off. You give money and like, okay, done, and take pictures and appear in the newspaper. But this is going to be a long term thing that you can get students involved, like what James was talking about, and get kids, teach them about plants and where do the veggies on their table come from. Some people don't even know what they look like in real
Yeah.
life. They only see the cooked version of it. So I think that's fantastic. Okay, so first question. I know I've spoken, and I think you guys have mentioned this before, but let's talk about the benefits of gardening. Let's put that into a few key points. What are the benefits of gardening? James, you want to go first?
Okay. Well, I would say the benefit of it is that you're going to get your steps in. You know how some people they count their steps, and
Yeah,
like as you were saying earlier, you squat. There's
yeah.
probably a hundred exercises in there, and I tell people that if you get out and you do this on a regular basis, it could help you with your weight. It could help you with your blood pressure. It could help you mentally. If you're shy, this may bring you out of your shyness. If you are, if you're headstrong, it will also break you down and make you humble. Because, like I said, because you're expecting, some people expect to go in here, oh, I got this, and then like as Gene was saying, you will fail, because you seem to know everything and don't know nothing. So your tomatoes may die, your cactus may die, and it's hard to kill a cactus, but
I've killed
but
cactuses. I kill a lot of things. I still kill a lot of things.
Oh,
yeah, but yeah, there's because you have to learn patience. I mean, because I tell people, one of the first things, uh, read, because reading could be really important.
mm,
Researching what people tell you is important, because there's a lot of people out there who will give you advice, and it could be the wrong advice,
mm,
or they didn't tell it to you right, and
mm.
then you do it the way that they said do it, and then it still end up wrong, and that's and you have to say, okay, well, that was me because I didn't research the information myself. I tell people also that reading, could be improved, because you need to read what's on the back of the package. On the
Mhm.
back of the package, it has instructions. It tells you how much sun, it tells you how much water, and it tells you, some of the places where you should maybe plant them. And if you don't follow them, you may end up in the wrong place. Say you're going to plant a watermelon, okay, but you only got 3 feet of space. Watermelon will probably take up about 8 to 10 feet of your space, and you're gonna have to dig out some more in order to get that. So you have to be able to read, those things, so this way you can do it properly. And like I said, I guess the key to that would be do your own research also, because there's a lot of information out there, but sometimes it's not exactly right. So do your own research, and check more than one place.
All right, thanks, James. I think, yeah, that's fantastic, and it goes with everything else in life. In fact, you need to research and read up on what you intend to do, and like I just started golf, and I have to watch a lot of golf videos. I need to read up on the theories. I need to practice. So practice goes a long way. And people tell me, oh, you need to swing it this way, you need to do it that way, and do it, and it's all wrong. So because I didn't actually research on what's actually the right way of doing it. So I think that's a great way that to teach you how to actually find out about things before you embark on them, and before you kill more plants you need to do a
Yeah.
bit more research. And I think we've got a comment here from Koji, who said that he started to plant his own local basil leaves for own consumption. So it's from the garden to kitchen. So garden to table, I think that's what they call it right nowadays. And from someone from YouTube, Donna, this is Datin Donna Drury Wee. Only this year my succulents survived. I have been given strict instructions that the succulents are only to be watered on the first of each month now. So she's got instructions there. So great stuff. And you guys, Jean, how about you? What are your thoughts? What are the benefits of gardening?
So you've covered a lot, Mona, in the beginning, and also James. I super agree with all of that. But I think one of the things about gardening for me is that it really connects you to nature. So we as humans, especially in our modern lives, we're surrounded by so much man-made artificial things. We're on our screens all the time, electronic stuff. We forget that we are actually part of nature. And when we cut that connection off, when we have no connection at all with nature, I think it actually is a bit soul destroying. You feel depressed, you don't feel right in
Mm,
yourself. And that gardening, you don't have to go all out into a national park or into the jungle to get that connection. You can connect with nature right in front of your doorstep. in your
That's right.
little garden, your little patch of garden. And
That's
yeah,
right.
touching the soil, getting your hands dirty, feeling your feet on the bare feet on the grass, and actually watching a seed grow. It's just so amazing. It's like a little miracle, isn't it, James? Like it still
That's
gets
right.
me every time. Yeah,
That's
when you
right.
see like,
That's right.
oh my gosh, like it was dead, it was dry, and you get this little thing starting to poke out. And oh my gosh, I think this is one of the best things you can actually pass on to your kids, teach your
Yeah,
kids about
I
gardening,
agree.
about growing stuff. Yeah,
I
and then
agree.
that satisfaction, that fulfillment that comes, like Koji, I think he's my optometrist. Are you my optometrist? I'm not sure. Just see the name, looks familiar. Like you're cooking, say, like a bowl of pasta, and then you go out to your garden, you harvest your own basil leaves, and you're like sprinkling it on top, and you're like, wow, I'm Jamie Oliver. Like in his shows he does that. He cooks and then he goes out to his garden and he's like sniffing this and that. That's just, I don't know, there's something really amazing about harvesting your own food. And I think it's really, really it's in our DNA. We were meant to do this, for thousands, for millions of years. We have been foraging, we have been harvesting stuff, and then of course, maybe 10,000 years ago we started agriculture. So it's something that's really deeply embedded inside of us. So yeah, I think that's the benefit of it, and bringing the community together, and feeling safe about your food supply too. You know
Mhm,
what you grew, you know what you put on
That's
there.
right.
Mm,
I agree. That's right.
yeah.
mhm. Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
And I think the only, sorry, James, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I would just going to agree with her because, like I said, because because here in the United States, if it's shipped by boat, plane, or train, or ever how it gets here, 90% of the time it's probably sprayed with 9 to 10 chemicals before it gets here,
Mm-hmm.
because they probably harvest them early. Say green tomatoes,
Mm-hmm.
they're all harvested early, and they'll spray them with waxes, all kinds of different things, and by the time it gets to us and get into the store, those and have you ever noticed how perfect tomatoes and things are in the store?
Yeah.
That's a natural,
Mm.
because if you run it in your backyard, you're gonna have bumps and maybe bug bites, but here we just slice them off,
Mm.
and we go straight into our salad or whatever. But yeah, there's way too many chemicals in the food, and I think that's part of our problem in the world is that we're we've been what's the word? I guess we've been taught to go to the grocery store to buy what
Mm-hmm.
you need instead of growing what you need
Mm-hmm.
for your own self.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that. And I think a lot of the diseases as well are actually appearing because we are weaker, in terms of our immune system, because we are, ingesting a lot of, well, pollution is one. And I
Yeah,
think preservatives and chemicals that makes our body weak. And we don't get a lot of nutrition as much as we need anymore from natural food. So a lot of them are processed food, like cream
yeah,
cheese or baked beans in a can, stuff like that. So I think fresh food is something that we need to go back to, and not just fresh food from the store, something that is organic without
yeah,
any chemicals. I agree with that. And I think that the only experience I've had during the lockdown of seeing a seed grow is with bean sprouts, because I think that's the easiest. You just, chuck them there in the dark, and I'm like,
okay.
whoa, they're growing. So that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, and the next one, this is something really interesting. Community gardening. And James, you've started quite a lot, and Jean, you've also seen community gardens in Kuching here, and I know there's a lot of places, even Kuala Lumpur. I know that they've started community gardening, but why is it important for us to have community gardening, and why did you start this, James, in your place, and how could that actually work in a community?
Well, I think um, it takes like-minded people to start a
Mm-hmm.
conversation, and if you can find like-minded people who like something, there's a lot more success going on,
Mm-hmm.
because once you get two, then you get three, and then somebody else hears about it, and then you got 10. And then you start talking about the benefits as we've been talking about it, where it can benefit the community. For me, it's kind of like a neighborhood watch,
Mm.
because everybody in the community is kind of doing their own little thing in the garden. They come when they need to, and so they're kind of in and out, and like I said, and if you didn't know the people in your community, you now know them by name.
Mhm.
You find out a lot more things about them. You find out that one's a doctor, one's a heart doctor, one's a foot doctor, or you find that somebody actually works on a farm, or you find somebody that works at a seed company. Uh,
Mm.
so so there's a lot of people that you can make connections with and still keep your community safe, because now those people are are now interested in what you're doing. Now they'll kind of keep an eye on your place. Hey, such and such came by today, and they dropped off a package. I made sure that it stayed there until you got home, and or they'll give you a phone call because now they got your phone number or they got your email address, or they're with you on Facebook or whatever. So there's a
Mm.
connection that brings a community together. And then when you start throwing kids, like elementary kids, as Gene was saying, because the younger that you start teaching them how to grow food, how to know um, uh, know what uh, know what real food is all about, then it'll be easier for them to grow up and start growing their own food. Because I always say, if you teach a kid how to grow food, they'll teach their parents,
Mhm.
and the lesson just keeps
Oops, I think James is frozen.
Yeah, I think he lost connection. Oh, there we go. We're
all
back
right.
again.
Yeah,
James, we lost you for a
we're
while.
back.
Yep.
Yeah, but as I was saying, I said because the earlier that you teach kids how to grow food, the better off the kids are, because now they'll go home and want to plant that tomato or plant
Mm-hmm.
that squash, or and what they plant they'll eat. So that kind of makes the circle complete, because now you've got the kids, and you can go into schools, you can go to places that you wouldn't ordinarily get to, and talk about what you're doing and maybe get other people interested.
Mm-hmm. That's really
Yeah,
great, and this pandemic also, I think, was a very good example of how a community watch or a community connection is very important. So I've read up on some instances where neighbors, they find out that their neighbor didn't have enough food because the parents were not working anymore because it was the lockdown, and these are people who actually have to attend work physically, so you can't do that when you're on a lockdown. And so if we had this community gardening, so you could actually exchange vegetables or fruits with them, and or give them to those who need them, and that would actually mm, save your community in your own little tight circle. And if all tight circles had their own community gardens, I think we will all be in a better place. So we're supporting each other. You may be better off in terms of financial status, but some people may need this garden for food in difficult times. So I think that's a really good lesson, I think, for us during this pandemic. Jean, what do you think about community gardens?
I agree with James there, and there's a few in Kuching that started up, like you mentioned, with the Rotary Club. I know the Lions Club has started one,
Mm.
Society for the Deaf, also the Dyslexia Society Association. Who else? I'm just trying to think.
Autistic
Kuching
Association.
Kuching Urban Farm as well. So they're
Oh,
starting their
okay.
own. But yeah, one thing that I want to just add to that, with say the council coming in to start one, is that the key word here is community. So
Mm.
we have been asked in the past, hey, you guys seed swap people, can you come in and start a community garden for us? But this place was very far away. It's in an industrial area, and it's more like a workplace, and there's really no residential houses around. And I was asking them, so who's going to be maintaining it, who's going to be watering the plants, who's going to
that's
look
right.
after it? Yeah.
That's right.
So it's not something that can be started by you. Someone from the outside can help you begin it, like what James
Yeah.
does. But you really need the actual community there to
Mm.
continue it on. Otherwise,
That's right.
it's just not gonna work. And it's hard work. You have to be
Yeah.
committed to it. You know, you can't
Yeah.
just leave it there and water it once a month like Donna's succulents. Yeah, it's hard work. Every day you've got to go in. You know, if you're doing organic garden, you've got to check for the pests, and you've got to,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and yeah. So that's I think that's all I have to add pretty much to the community garden question.
And
Yeah.
if you're gonna start a community garden, sorry, James. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say to touch on what she was just saying, because when you go into different communities, you have to have a community person there. Otherwise, they think it's your garden,
Mm.
and you are responsible for this garden. So that means that you would have to be there every day
Mm,
taking care of it. And that's not how it works. And that's one of the first things I get out of the way. This is not James's garden. This is your community garden. And I need somebody who lives in this community to take responsibility for it. I will come in and I will help you. I will help you write grants. I will help you do a lot of things, but it's not my garden. I'm a volunteer just like everybody else.
Mm. And
exactly. They've
and
really got to take ownership of it and not
Yeah.
just see it as, this is, yeah, it's like a hobby thing, but someone else is responsible for it.
okay, and if we wanted to start one, say, we want to start one today, who would be, the stakeholders that we need to approach? Obviously, the community itself, and someone who could be sort of the ketua kampong or the leader in that community, or someone who lives there. Who else should we talk to in order to be part of this community garden? James, from your experience, what did you do?
Well, for me, people came to us
Okay.
and asked us about community gardens. When I got here, like I said, I talked about it, but I only found somebody in Lexington, Kentucky, which was 35 miles away. This guy had 35 community gardens. I was trying to figure out how to get one, and so then I guess my connection with him and the connection with some other people, and then I made a connection at the local library. And I was going to say to Gene that we have kind of a seed swap, but it's in a library,
Mm.
so you can check it out just like you would a book.
Wow.
So what I did was like I say, because a lot of these organic companies, they will don't give you like a donation of seeds if you say if you're a nonprofit. You go there and you find their page and you look for community anything and see if they give donations to nonprofits. So
Mhm.
I found one website that said, well, we'll give you 60 packs of seeds to get you started. All you got to do is give them away.
Mm.
So I think I paid $20 for it. I took them all up to the library. We'd have sorting days where we would put maybe 5 or 10 seeds in one little package. We seal it up, write the name on it. We got a little shelf and everything. Put the seeds in, and then as that started, then more people brought seeds. So now, like I said, so they're now checking out seeds. It's free. You don't have to return anything. But
Mm.
if you do know how to save seeds, you can return those seeds so somebody else can get started. So it's just a matter of trying to check out all the angles that you can. But like I said, libraries, your public officials, look around your community and find out who some of the leaders are that you can maybe talk to, sit down and have a meeting with, and see if you can get them interested in what it is that you're trying to do.
Mhm. Okay, that's a good start. Wow, that's a good idea. A seed library that you could go and sort of check out seeds and put some of your seeds as well. Okay, for someone with totally zero experience in gardening and who hasn't started at all and are thinking of starting it, what would be your recommended first step? What should they do? Jean, maybe you want to start on this one.
Join Kuching Seed Swap. Yeah,
Okay.
that's a great place to start. And the other one would be talk to other gardeners that you know, talk to your neighbors,
Yeah.
talk to, you know, sometimes you're like driving along the road and you see someone with like a really nice roadside garden and someone's just working away there. Yeah, strike up a conversation with that stranger, you know, ask them, hey, you know, what are you planting there? I'm interested in growing my own garden. What's your advice? You know, and
Mhm.
yeah, you can get lots of like free stuff from our members, you know, tell them what you're looking for. I'm looking for this veggie, or I'm looking for that, or where do I buy soil? Very, very generous members who jump in and help, lots of advice as well. And as James said before, do a bit of research, look online. And for me, very, very important, something that I've really learned, don't grow stuff that requires too much care. For me, I'm a very lazy gardener. I like growing things that, you know, just chuck it there and then it just grows by itself. Yeah. So look at veggies that don't attract a lot of pests. And then the other thing that I also realized is grow the plant where it wants to grow.
That's
Something really important. Like don't force it to grow in a pot if it doesn't like a pot. Don't force it to grow in a sunny corner of your garden if it doesn't like it. And you can shift it, you know, like you can shift it around. If it dies there, maybe try a different spot later on. Yeah. So yeah, that would be my advice.
Okay, that sounds a bit more like me. So I think I should start planting things that don't need so much care and attention. And James, what about you? What would be your advice?
My advice would be to, along with the vegetables that you like, add
Mm-hmm.
flowers and some type of pollinators in your garden,
Mm-hmm.
because some of those pollinators will attack the bad bugs
Mm-hmm.
and keep your food safe. Uh, and having flowers and the bees, and if you are, if you like bees, and maybe put your beehive on your property,
Ooh.
so this way they can help pollinate all your
Mm-hmm.
vegetables, because without pollination, you're not going to get very much out of it anyway. So I would think that that would be my simple advice.
Wow, this doesn't sound very simple though to have bees in your garden. How do we, stay away from them if they gonna sting you and stuff?
Well, I've probably been stung maybe since I've been here. I've probably been stung maybe 5 times. But
Okay.
you know, I try to hold a conversation with the bees before I get started, and let them know, hey, I'm trying to help you out. If you just let me get in here for about an hour, I'll let you do your thing. And like I said, because if you start early morning, you could probably get in before the bees do. And if you say wait until the evening, later in the evening, uh, they may not be out as much. And so this way you can still kind of get in and avoid as many as possible. But I wouldn't go in, maybe shake a bush and say, hey, y'all move out the way, because they're gonna chase me out of the garden.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. And I didn't think that having pollinators in your garden would be important. And I guess it makes a lot of sense. Although the idea of having bees in your garden kind of scares me, and probably I'll be wearing all those the suit thing, and if I'm gonna be doing gardening with bees, and so they say sometimes, you said, start with veggies that you like to eat. So that's probably going to give you motivation to start planting them and to make sure they grow well so you can eat them. But
Yeah.
in other types of plants, would they be plants that suit your personality? Perhaps some people are more of a leafy kind of plant. Some people are more of the flowering types of plants. Would there be different types that suit different characters or personalities? What do you think, James?
Well, me, I like sunflowers. I really like sunflowers. Uh, I have the miniature, like 3 foot, 5 foot, 14 foot. The giant ones. I really love
Wow.
them, and I like all the different colors that come with it. So for me, it's sunflowers.
Mm-hmm. Uh, Jean, how about you? What's your favorite?
I'm a bit of a very short attention span kind of person. So I started with edible plants, and then we started growing banana trees. And then I started getting interested in moss gardening. One of our members in the
Hmm.
group, he's been posting up really cool stuff about moss. And then after that, it was caladiums, started collecting them. It's really dangerous when you start collecting a certain type of plant. I don't know, James, if you have the same if you have the same sort of thing. Like they come in so many colors and so many shapes and
Yeah,
sizes, and then you you
yeah.
you start with one, and then that's the end of the story. Your wallet will be empty every time you go to the plant shop. Yeah, and then now I'm into aquatic plants. So I started growing these what do you call it? Water lettuce, a little bit of water lilies that was given to me by
Okay.
other seed swap members. Yeah, and water hyacinth. I think I'm
Mhm.
don't know if I'm correct calling it correctly. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay, so do you agree that there's different personalities or different plant types? As you see there.
Not sure. I think it's more like what you personally like. Some people
Mm-hmm.
like succulents. They're very into succulents. I do like succulents, but I kill them all of the time. I'm just no good with succulents. Yeah, and it's like what you like, and then if it likes you back or not. That's the other thing. It's like
Ah.
sometimes it's like unrequited love.
Yeah.
It is. Do you get that, James? I don't know. There's
Yeah.
just some particular groups of plants that I just can't get. You know, I don't understand them. Yeah, it's like, what do you want from me? Yeah.
Okay, I think that's a good one. It's not just about you and what you like, it's about them and what they like. They may not like you, so leave them alone. So I think that's great. And yeah, Donna is saying that she has two kalulut bee. Kalulut is the name of a local stingless bee type that we have here. And she has the beehives at home at different ends of the garden. So she has a huge garden, so that's okay. She doesn't go into their way and vice versa. So yeah, that's fantastic. And I like that, like whether the plants actually like you or not, it's not
Right.
just about you liking them.
That's right.
So now, during this situation, a lot of people may have lost their jobs or may not be earning as much as they did before. So you're on a tight budget. So how do you manage, or how do you organize your garden, or if you want to refresh it, in a tight budget, how do you start with that one? James, you want to start on this one?
Okay. I would think that anytime that you do gardening, you use what you have around the house. You
Okay.
use whatever a neighbor might have. If they're not using it, if they got old lumber, or if they got, um, say, wash tubs, or anything that you can grow food in, use the recycled stuff first, and then you can go out and maybe spend $10 or $15 on something that you like to have. But it all goes back to making sure that you do this simply as possible, because you don't want to spend hundreds of dollars first and then
Mm,
find out you don't like it.
mm.
So just recycle whatever you have from your neighbors. Go to yard swaps, or
Oops, we lose him again.
Yeah. He'll be back.
He'll be back. It's
Yes.
taking slightly longer than usual. Mm, okay, five, four, three, two, one. Okay, Jean, maybe you wanna go ahead and give your point of view on this one.
All right, same answer to the
Oh,
question before.
he's back.
Join Kuching Seed Swap.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're on tight budget, join us. We've got a lot of members who have things to give away, cuttings. Like even if you want to ask around for old tires and things like that, people sometimes like grow like little beds in old tires. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and talk to your neighbors too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry, James, you were cut off for a while there. You wanna continue?
uh, I would just go to discontinue with saying this, because they're because they have what they call yard sales here. And like I said, they have them on Fridays and Saturdays and maybe the weekend. So you could always go there and find things dirt cheap. So
Mm,
just try to um, if your budget is $50, only spend 45. So this way you have $5 back in your pocket.
Mm,
So just try to do things as simple as possible. Recycle everything that you can imagine that could be usable. And like you'd be amazed what people are willing to get rid of in their garages. Because a lot of garages need to be cleaned out anyway.
mm-hmm.
So all you got to do is ask, hey, are you using that? They may say, well, no, I haven't used that in 10 years. Well, I can use it today, and I can grow whatever I need to. So like I said, just kind of stick with what's in your budget. Don't go outside your budget until you start to know what you're doing, and it might take a couple of years for you to get it together. But stay within a budget that you can afford, because otherwise you are throwing money out the window, and you don't
Mm,
know how successful you're going to be just yet.
mm. Okay, that's very good advice. And yes, I think sometimes we're just afraid of asking. And a lot of people are actually very happy to get rid of some of their junk at home. And that could be something that you may need in your garden. I've got a lot of junk at home, which I think I could give away. People just ask. And Now we're coming towards the end of the talk. I don't want to keep it for too long. But one last question. Any simple hacks or gardening hacks that you could actually give to people? Some simple tips and tricks that you've learned along the way that you could tell the audience. Jean, maybe you want to start on this one.
Mm, and it would be to grow the plant where it wants to grow. Yeah,
Okay.
so sorry, it's a bit of a repeat that, but that's
Yeah.
my biggest lesson. Yeah, grow the plant where it wants to grow, and also grow stuff that's easy. Yeah, grow stuff
Mm,
that you don't have to fertilize too much, you don't have to care for it too much, and
mm-hmm,
just leave it be. In Malaysia, we're very lucky, James, because it rains a lot, so we hardly have to water if you plant directly into the ground versus being in a pot. So yeah.
okay. Yeah, so great for us lazy gardeners because we've got
Mm,
rain all year round, and sometimes it rains too much. So you still
yep.
need to protect your plants from that overflow of water. James, how about you? Any tips and tricks or hacks for gardening?
Don't always go out and buy starters.
Mm-hmm,
Um, Starters are great, if you're in a hurry. But
mm-hmm,
if you have some time and you're going to be patient, you could buy seeds for $2 or $3, and you get 50 to 100 seeds per pack.
mm-hmm,
And this way you can grow what you need, and then you can give the rest to neighbors or whatever. Those seeds, and seeds are even good for at least a couple of years if you keep them in a dark, cool place. So you can hold on to seeds, and you can give seeds away. So don't always go out and buy the great big 10 footers or
Mm,
5 footers, because the say if here, say if you wanted a 1 gallon container, it might cost you say $5. If you want a 15-gallon container, it might cost you $35. So the
mm-hmm.
bigger the container, the more money that you're going to spend. So try to start with something simple, something that you can maintain, and it's within your budget. So just like say, keep it simple and stay within your budget, because budget is going to matter, because at the end of the season, you like to kind of know that, hey, I grew this garden for $50, but I've got $300 worth of vegetables to go with it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's fantastic. And Yeah, we're almost up to 1 hour we have here. And I'm just going to be ending the show right now. We can go on for hours and hours talking about food and gardening and the bees and the flowers and the trees and everything. But if you guys have any other questions for Jean or for James, you can write into Kuching Seed Swap on Facebook. And James is on LinkedIn. You can write into the community garden planters. They also have a website, I believe. I went on your website, James. I think could people just write into you, James? I think they could email to you, yeah?
Yes, they can leave questions, and like I said, and they could also email me at spreadingcompost@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm. Spreadingcompost@gmail.com. So you could actually email James that he has his own radio show and he talks about growing your own food. So you could also ask Jean or James about growing your own food in your garden. And in fact, the Sarawak state government, they're giving out support for people who want to do urban farming. And they only give these support out to people who want to plant your own vegetables or fruits in your garden. So they don't give money, but they give seeds and tools, and I think and fertilizers and stuff. So watch out for that one. I think you can write into the agriculture department for that. I'm not sure of the process, but you need to do a bit of reading up for that one. Okay, so thank you very much to the speakers and to the audience that we have here, and to some of the comments and the questions that they've raised. Thank you for staying with us, and thank you, Jean and James, for spending time. And James is already what 10 o'clock? No, 11 o'clock. There is it?
It
Is
is
it
10 o'clock here.
10 o'clock? It's 10 o'clock at night, and you have a 7 o'clock show tomorrow, and 8 o'clock show tomorrow. Is it?
That's correct.
Yeah, okay. So we're not gonna hold you any longer. You need your sleep before your show tomorrow. So thank you everyone for staying with us, and we're gonna be back on the Tuesday Talk Live next 2 weeks. So it's every 2 weeks. So we're gonna have a new topic the next 2 weeks. So see you then. Thank you, Jean and James, once again. See you everyone.
Okay.
Thank you,
Have a good
Mona.
night.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone. Bye
Bye.
bye. Thanks for
Bye.
joining us.